cannot go on much longer. And that means shifting from export and infrastructure investment led growth to domestic and consumption led growth. And that is will be a fundamental change, not only of the growth model, but also of the political model, because the undervaluation of the yen, of the renminbi, was really the secret weapon of the government, because it gave them, it was a way of, let's say, creaming the productivity of labor without the people feeling the pain. A form of taxation where the central authority accumulated assets from abroad rather than collecting it in taxes. And that was the basis of the strength of the central government in China. So how will it work politically? Will there be a political reform in China to reflect this, giving people greater influence over this political decision making, or will that lead to either repression or perhaps seeking external conflicts to maintain the cohesion of the country? And I think probably it will be a mix of all of the above, and that will sharpen some of the conflicts. Already the Japan-China conflict is probably one of the sharpest ones in the world, and that is likely to perhaps get worse. So that's the political aspect. So it's going to be, I think, quite a volatile year with all these things evolving at the same time. But there is, I think, something very positive happening in the developing world politically, namely the spread of political democracy, open society, the quest for freedom. It's very, very strong and gaining momentum. So just as the developed world is in a difficult period, both politically and economically, the developing world is really developing I think in a very positive way, not only economically, but also politically. So that gives you my view of the world, and I won't go into the details of what the foundation is doing. I'd like to open it up to questions, and I'll be happy to deal with everything.
Yes.
Let me get you a mic.
Right here.
Okay.
Peter Coy from Bloomberg Business Week. Question probably a lot of people here want to know, based on what you've been saying, where do you see the euro, dollar, and yen dollar exchange rates a year from now?
Well, I don't have any more insight into it as you, but I indicated the momentum that I think is for basically the euro to rise and the yen to fall. How far that will go and what will stop it, because it will run into, of course, objections. It will be resisted also by the United States. So I'm not in the, I generally don't know where, how far things go, but I can see which way they are going.
Henry Blodgett, Business Insider. So you said that the only way to get out of an over-indebted situation is to grow your way out of it. Certainly the ECB and a lot of the American government argue vociferously the opposite, that you have to go to austerity. Are they just idiots, or what are they basing that on? Is there some thing that gives that credence?
This is a celebration of imperfect understanding. It's a complicated issue, and it's easier to have a a simple slogan, like too much debt and so on, and it prevails, and it's being used politically. And it was used also politically very much in America, and Obama, being a good politician, actually kind of bought into it, didn't try to argue the complexities, so lip service. And the Republicans tried to use that to cut down on government services and actually to try to destroy the financial base of the Democratic Party by destroying the service unions, because service unions are one of the three mainstays of financial mainstays of the Democrats. The other are the trial lawyers and the bleeding heart liberals like myself. So now, let me just finish. So now the tables are turned, and now actually I think Obama is trying to split the Republican parties between the Tea Party and the establishment. And since the Tea Party is pretty well carried things to an unsustainable extent, this may in fact happen. And in fact, if the Tea Party gets pushed out into the wilderness, then actually I am very optimistic that there's a chance that the two-party system in America, which was in danger of breaking down, will actually start functioning again, because then you will have two parties, each of which tries to capture the middle, which is the way the two-party system works, which got distorted by an extremist group capturing the Republican Party, carrying far to the right, with the Democrats trying to run after them to try to capture the middle, and the whole thing got shifted over very far. And now there is a chance, I think, of actually the system coming back to function again. So that's another, I think, rather hopeful possibility.
I'm Corrado Chiumito from Italian press agency ANSA. I would like to ask you if you think that Italy is still a danger after Monti therapy, and what is the priority for my country? And
what therapy?
Monti therapy. Monti. Italian Premier Monti.
Monti
Therapy.
In any case, I would like to know if Italy is still a danger for an Eurozone, if you think, and what could be the priority for Italian. And another thing, if in the next election the left wing will win the election, do you think it could be a problem for the market?
I have been an admirer of Monti as a let's say, very intelligent technocrat. He was unfortunate. He actually tried to stand up to Merkel and claim victory in the June summit. But I've never seen an emptier victory than that. It lasted about one day because Merkel said, "I'll do everything I can for you, to support you." And then it turned out that she couldn't do anything. Unfortunately, Monti was let down by the Europeans. Now the political scene as a result has deteriorated greatly, and Berlusconi taking an anti-Euro position is actually regaining strength. So while the left is likely to come out the winner in the lower house, it's unlikely that they'll have also control of the upper house. And there, a combination of Monti and the left could then form a government. And that is, let's say, the best hope for the outcome, I think.
So, Jane from China's Caixin. And I have a question about China too. We've seen that more and more Chinese companies trying to target in America for overseas M&A. So how do you see the trend about it? And do you think China is the biggest headache for Obama in his term, this term?
Whether China
Is it Obama's biggest headache in his second term?
No, I don't think China is Obama's biggest headache. Obama has a very, let's say, crowded domestic agenda, and I think it will be some time before he will be able to focus on China. But I think how Chinese-American relations develop, whether they'll be based on cooperation or confrontation, is, I think, the central for the future of the world. Is the most important question, and it's open, and I hope that both sides will try to find a way of cooperation, because the world really needs cooperation, because I didn't mention all the issues that are, global issues, starting with global warming and a number of other things, global governance altogether. So you do need cooperation between the major powers. But there is a danger that if things don't go smoothly, then you find some external conflict to divert attention. And so I'm particularly concerned about the tension between Japan and China.
Good evening, Jeff Black from Bloomberg News. Mr. Soros, given all the money that is floating around the financial system from the very expansive policies from central banks around the world, do you see the danger of credit bubbles and asset price bubbles emerging in the near term?
Near term, I'm not sure, but not near term, definitely. There is an asset bubble in China, for instance, because of the real estate prices that have been sustained now by lending from the quasi-bank system, because the banks were brought under control, and therefore the quasi-banks had to step in and have actually supplied the real estate market. And the real estate market now in China is reviving again, and real estate prices are rising. And that, I think, is a potential bubble because of the source of financing, which is outside.
Louise Armistead from the Daily Telegraph. You said that the European Union was arguably more important than the euro. What do you make of David Cameron's call for a referendum?
Well, Britain is definitely being pushed to the side. I think Britain right now is in the best of all possible positions, because it's a member of the European Union and not a member of the euro. And any change in that status will be detrimental less favorable to Britain. But inevitably, Britain is pushed out is opting out, effectively, of the decision-making process. So it doesn't have much influence in determining what the rules and regulations that are imposed. And Cameron has to finesse the pressure from his own backbenches by offering this referendum. And it's a very dangerous gambit, although it is being pushed out, I think, to 2017. And a lot of things can happen in between. But it could actually lead to leaving, because usually referenda are referenda on the government, not on the issue that is on the ballot. And by that time, the government probably will be out of favor. But you have a referendum on Scotland, and Scotland might leave and join the European Union. So that may, it's very hard. But Britain's relation to Europe is greatly weakened.
George, I have a question over here.
Protestant from a Swiss newspaper. You said that everybody actually wants to bring the value of his currency down, except the European Union. So you don't think there is going to be a war on currency soon? Everybody wants to bring down the value of its currency. The Japanese want to do this. I mean, the Americans do it in a way with quantitative easing, and even the Swiss do it. But the Europeans don't do it. And if they start try to doing it too, so you don't think there is going to be a war on currencies?
No, I think that there is an incipient war in currencies, which may eventually push the ECB to change its posture, because the result of the overvaluation of the euro, it will be greater economic decline. So that could easily lead to a shift in the ECB's position as well, which will of course then reinforce the currency war, if you like. So currencies have been remarkably stable in the last few years. I think there is now the making of more fireworks, more volatility, and to maintain stability, you do need the major players to be in agreement. And when you have one of the major players totally opposed to the others, that's not the environment in which international cooperation and understanding between the main players can keep currencies under relatively stable.
So the outcome is going to be
an
agreement?
Pardon?
The outcome is going to be an agreement between the big players.
Well, for instance, the degree to which Japan can push its currency down will be greatly limited by what the United States is willing to tolerate. So the United States has a tremendous influence on how far Japan can go, because Japan is dependent on the United States for security, and the security is threatened with the islands. So it's very susceptible to American direction. So that's how the system is kept relatively stable by various actors sort of agreeing, compromising among themselves. But you have these tensions, and with the very sharp difference in philosophy between Germany and the rest of the world, this is liable to create greater volatility in the coming year.
Yeah, Faisal Islam, Channel 4 News London. Mr. Soros, in the past you've warned of the danger